Ugh. I'm hot and sweaty. I've been playing with strippers. Well, perhaps I should rephrase that. I'm hot and sweaty because it's 32 degrees and very humid, and I've been working out there and playing with paint stripper to get some panel work ready for the XL250 and XC Fairmont projects. Before I start though, I want to mention, and I forgot to mention this gent, Paul Flavelle, and he's from Adelaide Invigilation, and he sent me, I think Invigilation, I think that's I don't actually know what it does. I think it's a examination assessment company. I don't know what level they do, whether it's secondary, TAFE college, or university. I'm not sure. But he sent me four of these, or four huge T-shirts, all white, and they're massive. They're like 7XL. And I don't think he sent them to me because he thinks I'm too fat. I think it's because you get more yield out of a larger size, you see. And these are white cotton T-shirts, and they're perfect for engine reconditioning. And Paul, thanks very much, mate, because I do use this sort of stuff, although two of them got jacked. One by my son and one by my wife as nightshirts. So I've got enough here though to last me, because I have, what was it? The XC, I've got another 351 Cleveland to do for the XD, and I've got the 750 4-cylinder engine to do for the bike. So that's a huge help, because that's exactly what I use to make sure the bores are all clean. And of course, once you've done that and they've got a bit of residue, pardon me, you can use them as general rags. But I won't use them as rags until I've used them for those purposes, to make sure everything's scrupulously clean. So thanks, mate. Thanks very much. The other thing is, I left the other video on a negative note with the MG, and the fact that I misdiagnosed the rear main oil seal, which ended up, we thought it was the gearbox, if you remember, the gasket from the gearbox, and it turned out to be the high pressure line, or the oil pressure line for the gauge. It still is great that the engine came out, because the gearbox was leaking at the front gasket, and the ring gear, if you remember, I forgot about this, the ring gear was absolutely screwed, so it needed a new ring gear. And there was another reason why we wanted to take it out. The spigot bush was fractured and had all fallen apart, so it needed all those components anyway, and it also gave us a chance to clean it up and all that sort of stuff. So I might have come off as a bit negative with that, but I'm truly grateful that Dave took it out and I managed to get all that work done. I still need to get a jet for it. I might get a pair of jets for it. The line that goes from underneath the carburetor to the where the needle is, where the jet is. Line from the carburetor bolt, sorry, to where the jet is. And there was something else I needed. I can't remember what it was, but that I'll do later. I'm not in any great hurry to do anything with it at the moment, because I want to get this XC done and also move forward with the bike. And I've ordered a few more parts for the bike. I've got the cables on the way and the spokes on the way as well. So that means when the wheels can be laced, I can stick him on his feet on the ground and start finishing wiring, and the tank by then should be ready to go on. I'll get the side covers painted and we can really move forward with it. So whatever the case, I'm going to stop harping on, because I love harping on, but it gets boring, so I hope you enjoy. When we're coming to strip paint on the doors, it's not that hard. A couple of things will depend actually. This is all full of blisters, can you see that? Now it's not too big of a deal, because we can have it on these trestles. There's a bit of old cardboard there to sort of stop the stripper sitting in the timber on the trestles. Now what I'll do is, once these are all stripped and they're all hunky-dory, I'll staple some carpet there so I can flip the door around, it won't get all scratched up and everything. One of these doors has a non-magnetic section in the middle, which means it's probably full of filler, which is a bit of a pain, because paint stripper can get paint off, but when you start hitting spray putty and filler and all this sort of stuff, it becomes really, really messy. So we can put that on there and get busy with that. Now, the tank on the bike's a little bit different. There's a few things I need to do with this. I need to wash underneath it, and also I need to get rid of these decals, because actually that's not the right tank, that's the other one, that's the one I'm not using. The reason is the stripper won't get in on those decals there, so that's that's something we've got to look at. But doing it when we start blocking it back, and normally when we block back on a door, we're using a Dura block like this, and we sort of grab it with both hands, and we go this way, and we go this way, and all sorts of stuff to get the shape right. A tank on a bike's a little bit more complicated. That's not going to wrap around, so we have to use a shorter block. Now, the other thing is, if we start blocking that back on the ground, it's going to roll around everywhere. So I've got to use this old frame and sort of weld up some bits of metal. This is the one that was cut, but I can weld to the bottom of it. The frame is still usable in that it will, you can cut the bits off that I put on, but I want to form it into a stand. So the tank's off the ground and held at a good ergonomic height. At least it's kept still by those rubber things in there and also bolted to the back. So that's what we're going to do now. Cool. Right, well that looks fairly weak, particularly in that area there. That's round rod with 4 tacks onto some square section. It should be right. I've got to get those rubber ones, but this lets me hold it down and sort of block it back and do what I need to with that. Right, so this stand isn't great. You can't sit in it, it wants to fall back, but it's still going to suffice for what I want to use it for now. We're going to strip the paint off. We're going to take these decals off. And we've got surface rust going on here now. You could use a flapper disc, sanding just to get that off. It will thin the metal out if you sort of go over it too long, and you don't want to misshape anything. These paint stripper discs, this one's virtually worn out. They're plastic, I think, or some sort of nylon, and they just literally wipe rust off. They're really, really good like that. So I think the first thing we'll do is to get the heat gun out and start taking stickers off. I'm sort of hoping these stickers will be easy to get off. They're sort of coming off in tiny little pieces, which isn't what I wanted. I wanted them to sort of pull it off in a sheet, and I've got it quite hot. The other way we can do it, of course, is to hit it with a razor blade and just hack it up, which is about to happen. Not even sharp. That's probably the best way to do it. Now this paint shouldn't be hard to get off. It should come off really, really easily. Oh, here we go. That's what I was hoping for. Anyway, I'm going to go and just get the rest of this off. And go on to the next bit. Right, well I took the tank off. I actually forgot to wash underneath it. You can see I've got these bushes here which will hold it. And of course there's a little spigot there which hangs onto that bush. That all has to come off when we paint. Looking underneath it, you can see it's nice and clean. A tiny bit of surface pitting, but absolutely harmless. This did have a full, well, maybe 3/4 of a tank of petrol in it. And consequently it rattled around, so I dragged the magnet through there to pick up any scale. What I'm looking at now though is these decals here. These aren't painted, they're actually stickers, and we've got to get that off. That'll be weather beaten to the hilt, so it's going to be hard to get off. But how Honda painted it, you can see there where the tape begins and the oversprays. Now, there's a couple of things with this. Silver, believe it or not, covers really, really well. So when we paint this, I'm going to paint the whole thing black. A bit thicker on the top, of course, with the stripies, and then I'm going to cut in and do the silver. Now, as far as the silver is concerned, we can do a few things. That is a hell of a lot like Mitsubishi Gentile silver, which is the silver I use on Ford air cleaners and all that sort of stuff. It's not a bright silver, it's a nice metallic. So what we can do is we can do a sample of that. We can add a little bit of something to pull it down a shade, not gunmetal, but just a shade lower. And we can also do some samples with a bit of fleck in it as well, just to give it a lift in the sun. But that's a little way off. We've just got to get these decals off here. So because it's all wet now, and this was the one that I poured the petrol out and went all over the place in the garage. But see, I'm using a heat gun, they get red hot in the top, so I wanted to make sure there's no vapours in there, which there's not now. So we'll go around, we'll get these off. Now I've got another tank exactly the same. That was one that's not quite as in, it's in better internal condition, but it's not, externally it's not as good as this one. And that's going to tell me, that's why I haven't taken photos where the stickers are or anything like that, because I've got the other tank which is identical. And also when I tape these up, how that line's going to fall with the tape. And I'll model the other one, I'll model this off the other one when it comes time to do that. But as I said, we're a little way off. So I'm just going to persevere with this. It strikes me you've got to get them quite hot and then let it sit for a minute. And once it's sat for a sec, it sort of wants to come off then. I've given up being nice, I'm just scraping the hell out of it. This one is not going to come off, which isn't a big deal. Right. I'll just turn it over and do underneath where it's wrapped over, but that's pretty much it. You can see it's pretty sticker free, just that top one. Oh, there's still crap in that headstock. I might stuff a rag in there. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to paint the whole thing black, if I mask it off and do the black, then mask it off and do this, it's going to be a step. And if I just paint the black there and then mask off and do the silver, where the black is might look a bit different in terms of colour from where there's no black underneath the silver, if you know what I mean. So, I just want the things to look uniform. Now, once you get to this stage, you've got all the stickers off, we just get a box cutter, a sharp one, because this isn't. And the other side of the blade is just as blunt. Basically, scratch it up. And what that'll do is it'll give the, you can see it's only quite thin, I'm hitting the middle there. It'll give the stripper an in, if you know what I mean. So we go around, we scrape it all up. And we do that all over. And that's not going to show through the paint. We'll etch it, and then of course we're filling little bits and pieces down the sides. And not just that, we're going to use a high fill putty in it as well. And that can't help, or it can't hurt, adhesion with paint and that sort of stuff as well. So I'm just going to go around and slash it all up. And do the XC door as well. Now this is going to be a problem. You see all that? That's spray putty. And that'll be the reason why this thing, oh, that's not good. This is going to be hell to get off. I might do something different with that. That has got a coat of spray putty all over it. Look at that. That is deep. Ugh. And we have to take it all off, because if we don't, God man, that is deep. If we don't take that off, that's not stable. So you're going to get all these blisters come back again. The door frames themselves, if we turn around there, they're stable, they're good. You can paint over those, although once we've stripped all this, there's not much point. But I hate this stuff. It just makes things so much harder. In the spray putty, if you look at the motorcycle, the motorcycle's fuel tank was far harder to scratch, and I was down to the bare metal in like a micron. This is thick. That is really thick. And today is a fairly warm day. So, well, this isn't going to be fun. So this is really, really bad. It feels like a couple of mil. It's probably only about a mil there, I don't know. But by the time you get to the top surface there, that is really, really thick. And if it's a single pack thing, that's probably why it's got blisters and all sorts of stuff on it. That's ludicrous, and I'm not going to strip that, because paint stripper will that'll be like 10 applications of paint stripper. I'm going to take this in the backyard and use a power disc and just try and grind it out, because that's crap. That's not good. To get rid of it, so this is used paper. And I'm not sure if this is going to work or not, but it's worth a go. See what happens, eh? Bloody hell. Look at that. My God. That is a huge amount of fill. Oh, metal. Look at this. It's not there. That is ridiculous. I've never seen that much film in a door. Look at this, the whole thing. I know. Never seen anything like it. That is ridiculous. Right, so I've taken a lot of this filler off. I've left it in there. It is so thick in parts. The door's straight here. There's a tiny bit of surface rust there. Is that in frame? I'm not sure if that's in frame, but the tiny bit there, that's all virtually ground out. It's fairly straight along here. A bit of a dimple there, but not too bad. But this centre section here is absolutely knackered. There's huge dents all the way along it. Now, I think what's happened is it's had a big whack and they've just sort of straightened that as best they can. There's a big side intrusion bar on the inside of the door there, so you can't sort of get to it. But they've made the door straight by just recovering the whole thing in filler and redoing it. Now, I don't know if I want to use this. The amount of work involved, I just think it's easier getting another door. I don't know if I'll get one that's as rust free as that, but I'd almost sooner have something with a bit of rust that I can cut out and weld a patch in, because this is just impossible. It is so badly damaged. And I mean, I put a lot of bog in the roof of the XW where the hailstones were, where the hail dents were, and I rubbed it right out so it was paper thin and just the odd little mark like that where the dents were by the time I was finished it. There's more bog in this door than the whole car, the whole of the XW. I mean, it's just ludicrous. So, I don't know. I don't know what to do with that. It's a mess. Now, this is the other side, and it's a lot thinner. This one is a hell of a lot thinner in terms of the filler on it, and it's magnetic all the way through. So this one's probably a good one, even though it doesn't look as good in terms of it's got this big scar. I don't know if you can see that. That big scar there, that's easy to fix. I'm not worried about that. But this one, I can feel metal all the way through it. This is a good door. So I can use a stripper on that. It's got spray putty on it. Here you can see there. But I think this is going to be a much easier one to tackle. Couldn't help myself, just ducked out here and hit that with a disc. That's that rust mark there. There's nothing wrong with that. You can see little bits of surface rust. That's why it's important to get back to bare metal. The other one didn't have it. This one's also, it's bad there. It's been scraped along there and filled. But that's pretty easy to fix. So far so good. I'll continue on it later. Right, a couple of parts. I've already mentioned this lovely Athena gasket from Germany. So I can put that on, put the cover on, replace the seal for the gear shift and so forth. That's the old sprocket, rear sprocket there. In pretty bad repair. You can see it's all pointy and the teeth are sort of leaned over. The replacement for it is this one here, which is going to be considerably smaller. Well, it is considerably small. It's 38 tooth as opposed to something like 56. Massive difference. It does fit, I've checked it. It will give the bike a much bigger or much higher highway cruise speed. Apparently it used to run out of puff very, very early on the piece. It's drilled, it's multiple drillings, which isn't the most attractive thing, but once you put that, I've got them in here, some of the screws and everything in there, or the bolts, it'll look pretty good. Came, of course, with this sprocket, which is the wrong one. That looks like it's off an SL70 or an XR75 or something, very small. Only a one letter difference. That's a 429.15, that's a 459.15, so it's packaged wrong. So they've sent this out with what do you call it? A self-addressed envelope, so we can just stick that one and send it back. So that's really good of them. That's, is it Cox Motorsports? I can't remember the name of the place I got it from, but the service has been great. Of course, with that goes a chain, and this is a cheap chain. It's not an O-ring one because we want to keep the dollars down. This part's going to do very little work. It'll be fine for what we need to do if Dave decides to go off-road and do enduro riding, that sort of thing. Of course, you would take it out then and get an O-ring chain, and the O-ring chains have just got O-rings through all these linkages just to, or links, just to stop any crud getting into the sort of pivot points of the chain. So that's come. I think I'll pop that cover off and just bang a new gear shift seal in and put that gasket on. This has got magnets in it, so it's going to be quite challenging to get off. I'm just going to push that in and withdraw. And we've got to operate on this too. We've got to cut those connectors and put new ones on and give us a good clean with an old rag. So get rid of all that muck, which I should have done already. It's rolling around these dowels on a bit of Scotch-Brite. This is old Scotch-Brite. You can hang on to this stuff for years, and it's $2 a sheet, $2 a piece, and you literally can't do without it because it doesn't leave fragments. It's great for things like places where bearings run, if you know what I mean, because it doesn't scratch, and it also doesn't leave bits of carborundum like wet and trywood. Let's go around there, just get rid of some old sealer. I'm popping these back in with the gasket, the new gasket, but I'm not using sealer on it at the moment. I just don't want to use sealer on those new gaskets because once you take them off, if there's something we've omitted or something that isn't quite right, then the seal's wrecked when we take it off, whereas, well, the gasket's wrecked, sorry, so we've got some chance of reusing it if we don't put sealer on it. Do I need to put, that's the old seal. I'm not going to put Honda Bond around that, I'm just going to pop it in. And let's run a bit of lube in there. It just looks neat if I don't use that seal on there. Now, I always repeat myself. You never would clean it like that, always in an annular fashion. And that way, you're not going to get issues with grease. What do you call it? Oil leaking out of there. It's just great, this stuff. It's brilliant. Okay. We can also pop a bit of stello tape, clear sticky tape around there so when we drag the seal over, the spline doesn't cut it. I might put a bit on. Let's see how I go. Hang on a sec. See how crooked it is? You gotta get head on. And it just pops in, see that? Another must, which I'm always losing, is a piece of brass. Great soft drift. Right, gasket. And this little bloke goes like that. I'm amazed at how difficult this has been to get bloody parts for. Worth doing is just right around the inside here. It's pretty dirty. But these are permanent magnets. And the other one, when I pulled it apart, had a washer there and a bit of gear tooth. So we need to make sure they're nice and clean. And I think now we can pop this little thing in. I might just put a little bit of sealer over the bridge. There. Just might put it a little bit there. And that's what I'm talking about. Just a tiny bit just there. There's a $55,000 question. Is it going to go on? Oh, I'm kicking stuff. That camera's a pain. I've taken a risk and I haven't put tape over the seal. I did another one that was a bit messy. There we go. Come on, there you go. Good boy. Should just sort of fall into place, but we're still hung up there on something, which will be the shaft. And I think we're good. I think we're ready to pop some melting hardware in. So it's a matter of bit of anti-seize on each one and pop him home. That one, I may put one in, just to make sure I'm not trapped on anything under there. I've just got a block of wood under there holding the bike on an angle. Just so I can sort of access everything. Now there's one long one, this guy, that goes down there, which I'll put in right now. And there's a short one somewhere too, and I don't know where that goes. I'll figure that out in a moment. Alright, so I put him back on his bum again. I'm actually spewing because I've chipped paint around where those bolts are, in this one particularly. That gasket protrusion is living proof that that casing should have gone to there. I don't know what to do about that. I'm just going to tighten the sun plug up Also, that part there wasn't the short one. I put a regular length one in. It seems to go in really well. Okay, that goes down there. We need a long one for there too. So they would hold on this, which I've got to repaint. So in the meantime, where's the sprockets? And pop this on. And this is about pretty much identical to the one that came off. It's just the rear sprocket we've adjusted. And of course that's held on by this lock ring. So it goes that way, and it's held on by that lock ring there, which does have, pardon me, some wear evident. I'm not sure if Honda insist on grease in here. I imagine they would. I imagine they would. That's perfect. Absolutely wonderful. I might put a tiny bit of grease on the splines. I'll go and get some. Right. So I've got this. That shoulder's going to face inward. I stuck a bit of grease there because I wanted to. Little lock ring. Which way is the best way to go? I'll put it on that way. And then we've got bolts. Now the problem with this, I've got bolty shoes. The original ones like that, they've got a lock washer on them. They just sort of bolt in there. The only ones I got, so we'll get one of those, are these shouldered ones which don't have the locking facility on them. So that would be a case of Loctiting them. As long as I'm going to fit, it's not going to come out the other end. I better actually take this off again and just check the depth of it because I don't want it protruding out the other side. So you want to check all this sort of stuff, particularly if there was two bikes here. When you're dealing with stuff that people have messed around with, you just don't know what you're getting into. So you just got to double and triple check everything. It is a pain in the bottom. So I'm going to have to stick a spot of Loctite on those, and if that right one comes up or the correct one comes up, another one of those, well then I can just do with that. But at the moment we're going to be Loctiting those in. This isn't going to stay on because for starting off with the chain on, but not just that, I want to repaint this, it's crap, but I do want to stick it on for now just because, well, I want to. I'm just going to make sure that wiring's oriented the way I want it to be. And so it's nice to sort of do this stuff because it gives you some sort of insight as to what it's going to look like when it's finished. And even through there we can see nice plated bits and pieces. It always adds to the look of the thing. Now, there's a problem with the top one, and as I said, it's only temporary. Just touch that down like that. This, now, we've had two bikes, none of them had the right hardware in. That's too long. That's the second bike's version of that. So I've got to figure the right one. It might mean cutting that and tapping it up further, which is going to be a pain, but at the end of the day, I want it to have the right sort of hardware on it. It's a dreadful shame that that's missing there. That wrecks it. So there are bits and pieces on this that aren't perfect at all. So I want to keep the mileage off this Commodore. It's only got 45,000 on it. And I've got the starlet back now from Dave's. But it's the second time today I've lost the bloody key. Does this look out of focus to you? So here it is. And it looks pretty dirty. Good to the steering wheel. Seats have cigarette burns and splits up here, so I've got to get another seat for it, at least for the cover. Pull that one off, stick it in the wash. Pull the back one off, put that in the wash. Just clean up the interior. The gear knob's a bit yuck. To recap, this is the engine from the red car that was pranked. And we've got new belts, timing belt, all this sort of other stuff on it. Dave did all this. And it's beaut with Alex's battery. This is from Alex, who you've met in the videos. Anyway, Alex had a special request in that Richmond won the flag, and he thought it was good luck by all the Richmond stickers on this car. And there's even another one there. And he asked me to leave them there. So I'm going to take that off because it's pretty ugly. And they can come off. These ones can. But that little one there, that can stay. And that's sort of a tribute to Alex. So he asked me to just leave one little one there. So I think that's what we'll do. There's these stickers on top of stickers. So this one must have been a member. There's about 4 or 5, 3, maybe 5 stickers under there, I don't know. There's a few stickers under there. So we've got rid of them all except one. And that's for Al, because he loves Richmond. Even to the point where after they won the flag, is this going to focus or what? There we go. Even to the point where after they won the flag, he bought a bunch of Richmond, a couple of slabs of Richmond beer, which was, I think, just Carlton Draft. But there's that one, so I'll do a bit more work on it soon-ish. That's I'm not going to register that until probably February, March. The reason being, I want to make sure when regos come every year, I'm not financially strapped. Because in the last quarter of each year, I'm always a little bit poor. Now, I've always had a bit of trouble with car covers. In that, trying to find a good one. Now this, I'll show you this one. This is an Auto Technica, and it is absolutely brilliant. Now, I've had a lot of trouble with car covers that say they're waterproof and they're not. And this thing really is. It's completely waterproof. It's reflective. So even sitting in today's sun, and today got to 37 Celsius, 38 degrees, something like that. I took the cover off, got straight in the car. It's still hot in there, but not like it would have been if it didn't have a cover on. So a lot of UV protection, and of course they're also sort of flock lined. Now, aside from that, the start of December in Melbourne, we had torrential rain, absolutely torrential rain, and after a week of it, let the cover dry, take it off, and the car is absolutely bone dry inside. And even in winter with frost, no complaint at all. So that's absolutely brilliant. I love the thing. About $200, $220. You can get them through, I think, their website, Auto Technica, but also the Healy factory sell them. These things are useless. Good in a garage dusting, but even dust gets through the thing. But these are worse. These are crap, and they tear. These are around $35, something like that. About the same price as these. There's also a brown variety of these that's supposed to be waterproof. And even after a small amount of rain, you'll find it stuck to your car like glad wrap. Useless. But in the garage like this, not too bad. So, but these things, brilliant. I need one for the Commodore. The only thing with these sorts of things, of course, is they are a bit of an eyesore from the road, but what do you do? Yeah, but really, really happy with it. A couple of other last minute things. Here's the boot lid off the XC. There's rust there. I actually thought the rust was in here. And I rolled a scrap of metal to make a patch to sort of go down in here, which I was wrong. It's actually up in there. So, I mean, I can make a patch for that and weld it in. I'm not too worried about that. Speaking of the XC, here's the bonnet. I'm going to attack this first. It's normally the last thing you would do on a car, doing the bonnet. But this is one of the easier panels from what I can gather. So if I can get this done and painted quickly, that's a win. I can at least get one done, hanging on the car for now, even though it's going to have to come off and the guards and everything go on. But at least it gets one thing done. What a mess, look at all this stuff. That's the chain tensioner for the XL. The bolts on the swing arm. Right, I've got this stuff here, no idea what it's like. It says brilliant paint stripper. Tipping the petrol tank on the bike is going to be far easier to remove paint from than what the guards are, because they've got spray putty and bog and all that sort of stuff in them. We need a container to put in, some gloves, because this stuff is really caustic, and even these little, what are they called, disposable latex gloves, if you get it on them, you can feel it burn through them. It's not nice. An old brush, which is this, which I couldn't find, so I bought a new one, and then this one turned up, so we're good. I've got a couple of spatulas, and again I couldn't find those, so I bought another cheap spatula. So we're in a mess again, because this MG panel is not going to be put on for a while yet, so I'll hang that on the wall. I'm at the stage where I need to do another clean up here, but we'll get started on this now and see where it takes us. Right, so we've got our stuff out. I've taped up the fuel tank there. I don't want the stripper getting in there. Can't find my painting mask. So we'll prepare some of this. Noises here, isn't there? Alright, this is going to be nasty. Oh, that's even freaking better. This is horrible stuff. And it's a bit too warm today to use it as well. Alright. Break down, hey? Good. Alright. So, let's go stick some on the car. I've actually scratched it up, but I've also scratched it up with the disc. And we're just brushing it on. We don't want it to splash around. And we also don't want it to dry on there. But it's bound to because it's too warm today. But I've really got to get started with this. I've also put little bits of cardboard there to stop it sort of leaking through into the timber. I'm going to have to find my painting mask. This is gross. Great. What the hell is that? It's a Christmas celebration for somebody, different culture. But I don't know what nationality it is. It's nice though, it's celebratory. Alright, so let's let that sit now. This is so much tougher when it gets like this. The motorcycle's fuel tank should be much easier. I'm expecting that to just fall off. Alright, so we're going to put some on that. So let's have a look at this one. I think this is going to come off, should just fall off. But having said that, I'm always wrong. So we'll just have a crack at it and see where it leads us. I'm kneeling on there. We got some blue fresh from the XC's door. Run it right to the edge, and it should start blistering. I don't want it underneath necessarily, I just want it around the top. We've scratched it up, so it should begin to, look at this, it's already working. And that's the beauty of something that hasn't been painted 1,000 times, because it's easy to get it off, you know. And it should, if we keep it wet enough, it should just come straight off. Look at that. Nothing but bare metal underneath. That's what we want. So I'm just going to do it on the other side. It's violent stuff, isn't it? And if the car's paint came off this easy, it'd be so much better. But I knew it wasn't going to. It just shows how bloody nasty this stuff is. Look at it. And I'm not editing this. This is just in real time. Might as well do this muffler, eh? This guy brush painted the muffler. Let's brush paint it again. Hang on. I'll just remove the tripod. That'll buy us a bit of time. Let's sit for a bit. Where's that scraper? Watch this. Look at that. That's the rust I was telling you about underneath the paint. It just falls off. That's exactly what we want. And it's just fresh, clean metal underneath. What about that sticker? Not a problem for the paint stripper. Just comes straight off. Beautiful. But we had to strip this. The paint was stable, but all this rust, we have to get rid of all that. These beautiful clean metal. This is bad stripper. I've used it before, but this has penetrated the spray putty, and a lot of them don't seem to do it. This stripper was a 4 litre can, was $50 at Milsom's. That is good. Oh wow, that's cool. And if I sound overzealous, it's because I'm surprised. Wow, that is so freaking good. Look at that. I'm just going to give it another hit because we've got... Okay, so there's bog in the corner which it hasn't lifted. It doesn't like bog. You'll find this bog there, there's a low there. Anyway, I'll just keep going. This isn't bad. This is only the second application. They've put more spray putty here than in the midsection of the door, I suppose, because that's where most of the light reflects that you see. But this door looks really good compared to the other one. And I thought the other one was better than this, but see, this is spray putty here. I can sand that out. I probably should have let it soak a bit longer. I think there's a little bit, or a tiny bit left in the thing, and there's a bit of surface rust there now. As much filler as the other one had, there was absolutely no rust underneath it. So whoever bogged it used a ton of it and formed a new shape out of it, but they did it on very clean metal, so no rust sort of formed, you know. Whereas this has little bits of surface rust like that, and that's very easy to get rid of. And those paint stripper discs on your angle grinder will just wipe that straight out. You don't have to do anything else. And there's a little bit of stripper there, and I can feel it burn. I'm just going to go around and do this. And I reckon this is a peachy door. This is good. So now that's all done. We'll just get, this is just an oily rag out of the garage. Just wipe the excess off. And then that'll dry. And then we can sort of really wash it back. But you can see, there's not a bad result. There's that dent there. And there's a low there. It's nice to muck around with it a bit. But it's not too bad. Wait for you to focus. It's having trouble focusing on this door. Focus, you idiot. Right, so here's the skin. It looks absolutely lovely. You can see those marks over there are just sanding marks. It's the way the light in the garage is sort of reflecting off it. But this door is lovely. A couple of little bits of surface rust like that is not a big deal. That'll wipe out, provided it's not rusted out from behind. And I know it's not because I've seen it. The only other thing on this door, the fault, was where the paint had been scratched off. And you can see down there there's surface rust, which I can get rid of. But that big scar, I might have to sort of hit that with a Y wheel or something, get it right out, and hit it with the phosphoric acid. I can wet sand that with like 120 and it'll just leave a dark grey mark there. I'll sort of go into that in the next chapter. I don't like bogging over surface rust. Of course, here's the bike fuel tank, the same thing that we said would happen, if you know what I mean. There's surface rust that was lurking under the paint, but that'll just wipe straight off. I'm not even worried about that, and you'll see what I'm talking about after. Brazed around the neck, I think that must have been done at the factory. There's still residue on it. I need to sort of, just let it dry up, have a good feel around, see what I've got. This is what the doctor ordered, this door here, because there's one behind it with all the filler left me really flat. And you know what? I need all the encouragement I can with the XC, because I sort of came to a bit of a wall with it. I like doing the smaller jobs. They're more fun. And of course, you know, hit something like that door behind it with all the huge amount of ripples and dents and all that sort of stuff. It just takes the wind out of your sails a bit. So this is what I needed. I've never ditched a job. I have sold them on. Not when they're at the stage the XC is, though. I wouldn't sell that. But I do need to finish it. I'm sort of in a position where I really need to finish it. But as for this thing behind here, I'm just going to move this out of the way. My God. I don't know what to do with that. I just don't know what to do with it. I think I'm going to cull it and look for another door. Because to get that straight is going to be a lot of hammer and dolly work. It's going to be a lot of heating it up to get it virtually straight and skimming with bog. You know what? I know I've been lucky with this door, but I'd sooner a nice straight one like that. I've got the XW's doors are like that. They're pretty good. But anyway, look, the front ones need a bit of rust repair. There's a few patches to put in, but I don't care about that. I think they're down the bottom. There's a small patch in the boot lid to do too. But the bonnet in this door look magic. So anyway, look, on that note, I'll say goodbye. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy your classic, and I'll see you later. I feel like I've forgotten to say something. No, doesn't matter. I'll say it next time. Cheers.